Welcome to the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we inspire one life, one smile at a time. Come on in, everyone. You know what time it is. It is time for the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Listen, you guys, we have a great subject that we're going to dive into today, and that subject is called Concepts of Truth. I am really excited about discussing this. I've been seeing a lot of things on the news that I want to discuss with you that is pertaining to our subject today, Concepts of Truth. And we're also going to discuss many things that are surrounded by our podcast title, Concepts of Truth, that I know that is going to resonate a thought, or you're going to know someone who's affected by it, or you probably have dealt with it yourself. But I want to dive into a subject. It's going to be a little deep today. Well, I hate to use the word deep. It's going to be a little, I would say, a thought. It's going to press upon your thought to think about a couple of things. But let me tell you, this morning, I woke up, and I was concerned about a story that I continuously keep seeing in the news. CNN have been reporting on many occasions these last couple of weeks about a lot of young people, high school, going into college, is committing suicide. And these were healthy kids who had already signed in for college, but the pandemic changed the course of their life. And they have been reporting that they were committing suicide. They're reporting the background of them, that they were very active children, had a lot of friends, very sociable. And because of the pandemic, they had to withdraw from college. Their future seemed dimmed. From the story that I'm reading, it gave me the impression that the kids felt like maybe their future had no future. And so they committed suicide. They no longer can be sociable with their friends, do all the normal things that young people do, get in trouble, go to parties, run from authority that's coming to get them because of the party is too loud. All these are normal things, going to the clubs, going to parks, being sociable with your friends, going to college, having a future, having plans that you spent your whole entire youth planning out with your parents and all of this stuff. And now the pandemic's come, and now they have to detour, and they probably at that age don't know how to process it. And today's podcast title is Concepts of Truth. And, and it bothers me so much because, one, this is the time that everyone needs to really read on signs of depression. I know people are saying this is a mental illness. No, let's go back and say it's a depression, because this is not a normal situation that any of us is involved in. I'm speaking of the United States because I was reading another story in one of the Asian countries that they have grasped this virus. But I'm speaking of the United States because this is what CNN is reporting. And this is the time that we really need to dive into and talk to people who talk to people, the real people who have suffered depression and have made it out. Don't talk to people who work at a depression place and have never dealt with this subject or dealt with this emotional instability in the mind, and really talk to them and find out some of the signs. I'm going to share a couple of things today, and maybe it will give some enlightenment. And also I'm going to share some things to maybe we can change the course of the concept of truth that have caused it to be true when it's not the truth. But they have been reporting, CNN has been reporting, many of the children have committed suicide who had signed into college. So let's really talk about a couple of things about concepts of truth. And it's amazing because when I read the definition of concept of truth before this podcast, it says it means the conceived in the mind. You know, the mind is a muscle, and you can conceive the wrong thing in the mind. And I want to touch bases on that. And because the story of the young people are committing suicide have gave themselves a conceived in the mind that perhaps there's no future. And I want to talk about, really dive into this. And I know that we, in our society, we want to talk about, let's develop our minds. Let's learn about all these things. Let's educate ourselves. But I never hear anyone talk about your heart. Your heart. What's driving your heart? Because your heart should be driving your mind and your activity to seek after. That is called passion. And we have to, in this time right now, while we're dealing with this pandemic, is to convert that thought of process. It's not the mind first, it's the heart. And we have to start teaching that. It's the passion. And I know when we go to schools is not, it's not focused on our passions. It's focused on education. It's focused on, you got to learn this subject. You got to learn the multiple choices. You got to pass this test in order to graduate to the next class. They focus more so on the mind. So it causes your heart to be left over there all by itself and your passions. And then your passions and your hearts later on in life start to scream at you and say, I cannot no longer be left over here by myself. Now, this is what the heart is doing later on in life after you went to school and you have followed your mind and your thoughts about what it is that who you are. And then your heart catches up with everything, with the whole DNA of who you are in the first place, and starts screaming at you. And then in the midst of your life, between 30 to 50 years old, you have this transitioning. I've seen this happen with some friends, and I've seen it happen when I'm reading stories in the news where people who have been very successful in business. In fact, I just read the other day where this guy who was very successful in business, he worked for someone. He was at the top of the line. I think he was like a CEO at this company. And he just got completely frustrated. He sold everything and went to his passion. Now he lives in Africa where he has an animal restoration where animals who have been left by the animals' parents, and he started to restore them and bring love to them. This is his passion. He moved from the United States, went to Africa, and started to have this foundation for animals to restore them. Animals that's been hurt, left wounded. And I was reading this story, and I'm thinking, you left and sold everything to do this. And I was watching him having this relationship with these wild animals. And he was happy. He, in the midst of his life, his passion, his heart started to scream at him. No, this is not what I want you to do in the CEO. This is what I called you to do. His passion overseeded everything that his mind had prepared for his life. Why am I going here? Because we got young kids right now is committing suicide because they don't know how to process this pandemic and everything shut down. That is because their heart has not resonated and screamed at them to say, it's going to be okay. I have a future for you. Don't be concerned about this right now. This will change. And we have to make an effort to the young people, especially, that what's in your heart? What's your passion? What is it that you love to do? It doesn't matter if it's the most craziest thing that you love to do, like play Lego My Ego, the Legos, if that's your passion, if that's their passion, let their passion just come above and just take over, because that passion of them liking Legos, they probably are an architect and not a lawyer. If they are loving just sitting around on the floor creating things out of Legos, more likely they are an architect and they like to build things, or they probably a person who like to build computers, anything that's in the building field. But that is something that I want to bring forth and make an effort to say, I'm shining a light on. Check on your young people who are in college and make sure you asking them about their heart, not their mind, not what they have learned, what they need to learn, but find out what they love, what they like to do. Sit around on the floor and find out what they like to do in their heart, what resonates in their heart, and bring a smile. And how you know that this is what they like, they start smiling. Their whole face expression changes when you start talking about their passions. Because what you don't want to do is find out and wake up the next morning that your child has committed suicide and you did not see the signs. You did not see the signs is because effortless, you are looking at the learning process and not the heart and the passion. Right now, we have to transition to what is. And sometimes the concept of thought is not always the true concept of thought because it has been put there. But I want to say that check on your young people. And to go into a little bit more deeper in the concept of thought is to say that the concept of something is more important than fact, okay? And let me say that again. The concept of something is more important than fact. And, I know people like to say, this is the fact right here. These are the facts. The facts are laying here. But what is the concept of it? The fact is this, but what's the concept of something? Because the concept of something is more than fact. And the concept of the passion within a person is more than the fact that this is what they need to be. Now, the concept is more important than fact. Okay? I just want to leave that for you because right now we're all having to adjust. But I sit here and as I was just getting prepared for the podcast today, and I was thinking, what make me an expert to talk about this? It makes me an expert for real because I've been working all of my life, and the concept and fact was working at the same time. Although I was working in corporate America, the true me always resonated in every place that I worked. I was always trying to put curriculums together so when people asked me questions, they would stop asking me questions and they would go to the manual that I created for them. That's that teacher coming out of me. It was something that just came out. It was just something that I did. Or if someone was constantly asking me questions and they kept coming back asking questions, I would send them an email with step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's that organization of the teacher part of me. So with saying that, I want to really express my concern and also to press towards your young people and find out what their passion is, because it could save their life, especially while we go through this pandemic and while we go through this quarantine, this abnormal lifespan that we're dealing with in the United States. But listen, let's turn the tables here and bridge on the concept of thought is there's 5 questions probably you can ask yourself, the people around you, because these questions resonate with every single person. And it will save your life. I am telling you, it will save your life. You can ask these questions to your 1-year-old, your 2-year-old, and you can continuously ask these questions for the rest of their life to make sure that they stay on the course of their heart and their passion is pulling them. Because this will save you a lot of money. It will save you a lot of time. It'll save you a lot of pain and hurt. And it'll set you on course the right way. And this is one question, and again, it's who am I? You know, you want to find out who are you for real. Like I stated previously, that if a child is constantly playing with their Legos and you're trying to send them to be a doctor or a business owner or a lawyer or a police officer or a fireman, and you still trying to send them that way, and they are sitting on the floor and building with Legos, that may be something you may want to just kind of look at. Number 2 question would be, why am I here? You know, why are you here? One of the things that I do know, that everything that was created in this earth has a purpose. When we look at the flowers and we see how beautiful the flowers are and the colors that resonates us and draws us to that flower. But the color of that flower has a purpose. It signifies to the insects, this is the flower that I need to feed on. The bees, they look at the colors as something that who they are, to resonate, to pomulate the flowers, to bring to fertilize things. Everything that was created has a purpose. Although it's beautiful for us, but everything that was created has a purpose for a purpose. In Georgia, we do not have palm trees. We have pine trees. In Georgia, we have peaches, but we do not grow pineapples. You know, there's a purpose. So you want to ask, who am I and why are you here? Because it is so important that you find that out. I know many of you know that. I just wanted to go over that because of the CNN reports that stated that a lot of kids are being suicidal. The next question is, where am I from and what is my source? And when I want to talk about where am I from, there's 2 ways you can look at that. You can look at it where am I from, as far as your natural family, and where are you from your spiritual family. Now, this is not a Bible study, but I want to talk about something. Jesus came from a family where his stepfather was a carpenter. And so Jesus, he grew up being a carpenter, but he really was the Christ, you know, to redeem the world. But he still worked both situations. He was a carpenter learning about building things. And it's just so ironic that he was building things out of wood, and then he was the one who resonated and showed us how to build the church and how to build a life for us so that we can resonate a beautiful life here as a human being. The next question would be, what can I do? What are your abilities? What can you do naturally, and what are your abilities? And because we can do something naturally, we go on to perfect that natural gift. These are the abilities that you have within you. And I want to know, I wish I could interview some of the parents with the children, but I would like to ask the parents, what were their ability? What could they do naturally? Because sometimes when things change in our life, we can go back to the reserve, the things that will resonate and make us happy. Like if they had a hobby or something that they enjoyed doing. The next question would be, where am I going, and where is my destination? And where are you going, and where is your destination? And because of the kids who are just giving up on life, they didn't see beyond, I'm no longer in school, I'm no longer around my friends and family, of course, I'm no longer doing activities, but there is a life after this segment. My father always used to tell me, and sometimes when I used to take big steps, and I remember when I was younger, you guys, when I was buying my first house, and I was panicking. I was panicking because I saw a house as huge, and I looked at my salary, and my salary was not huge for a house at such a large purchase. And my dad said to me, he gave me this thought. He says, you can afford the house. He says, if you can pay your mortgage. Now, this was his concept, and it has been true. He says, if you can pay your mortgage with 3 weeks of pay from your salary, you can pay your mortgage. He says, because your salary would change. He says, but your mortgage payment when you buy a house stays for 30 years. He said, if you go into a home and you can take 3 weeks of your pay and pay your mortgage, then it's a good buy. He said, because times when it's lacking in the beginning of something that you purchase does not always last. Your salary will outlast that payment. And, I took that and I ran with it. And my father was so wise in explaining it to me, because as soon as I bought the house, I think 2 years later, my salary tripled. And when I was living in an apartment, my rent continued to go up at least $50 to $75 every year. But my mortgage payment stayed the same. My salary increased. So he informed me and gave me wise counsel. This is where the question that says, where am I going? What is my destination? Although that's not a destination. Well, it is kind of a destination. It's talking about something beyond where you are today. And I want you to really look at these questions and think about it. Because it could save your life. It can bring a rested place in your life and in your children's life if you find out those 5 questions. And let me go over these questions again. It's who am I? Why am I here? What can I do? What is my ability? Where am I from? What is my source? And where am I going? And what is my destination? And I want to leave you with this. Life without purpose is the worst tragedy. Life without purpose is the worst tragedy. And I think what's happening is when people are going into the thought of suicide, is they have lost the concept of their purpose in life because of a present circumstance that is not good. And we want to make sure that we're grounded on who am I, the purpose. Because I'm coming to you and I'm very slowly trying to take this step by step, because there's many things in my life that has occurred and it has devastated. But one of the things that I know and very secure of and who I am, and I have always known, is that I am naturally a teacher. And I'm a natural person who likes to show things that organized. That is my grounded purpose in life. It comes naturally. I remember And I'm going to leave you with this. I remember I was working at a company, and I knew that what I was doing wasn't my purpose. So I decided to go to school and take up A+, which is computer technology. And don't know why I was doing that, but I wanted it. I was interested in computers. So I went to take this technology class called A+, where we learned the functionalities of a computer and how to build one from scratch. And it was later until I realized this building a computer and understanding the whole functionality of how a computer operates is the same functions as a teacher. I needed to understand how it operates, because me as a person, I need to know how things operate. I went into every company, even though I was assigned to do one particular job. I was a type of person, I needed to know, how is my job affecting everything around it? I needed to know that concept to give me the passion to do my portion. I don't know if that makes any sense. Although I wasn't responsible to be the director and the president and the CEO and the purchaser and the marketing person, but I wanted to know the concept around why is my job is so important for your job. I needed to know the big picture, and that was something that. Who I am, the purpose and who I am, my purpose is a teacher, that made my life so much better and made me a more a potent person for what I was called to do for that particular time. And sometimes we have to look at and talk to our young people and say, this is why you are so important right now in our life, in my family's life, in this job's life, in this situation life, because it affects everything else around it. We have to find out different ways to address this transitioning that our young people are facing, because believe it or not, we are in a totally different time. We're in a technology time where internet is so abrasive, is so connecting to the entire world. More so back in the day when our family and our friends, and back in the day when our grandparents was living, they didn't have that access. They had the calmness of the field and farming and factories. Now we have the access of internet. We can just ask the internet questions and it'll give us the answer. We can ask our phone a question and it will give us how to pronounce something in another language. We're dealing with this type of mindset with our young people. So we have to make sure that the foundation within them know their purpose and why they are important at this present time and how it affects them around, because it brings a wholeness, because they're dealing with wholeness. But I wanted to leave you with that and passionately just share a couple of things that I have dealt with. And I have dealt with suicide myself, but I dealt with it in a different way. And I probably will talk about that on a different podcast. But today is not the correct time to talk about it. But again, our topic is concepts of truth. We want to make sure that our concepts of truth is resonating from our heart, not our mind. The concept of truth is resonating from the heart and the passion of who you are, and not the mind of where you think you're going in the future, because things change continuously. But our heart and what resonated in our heart and who we are, it never changes, because it was part of our DNA when we came into the world. But listen, you guys, I thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. I know it's a little lengthy today, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things with our subject. Again, it is called Concepts of Truth. And take the time out and talk to your young people. Take the time out and talk to the older people. Just take the time out and talk to yourself about the concept of truth, and make sure that it is resonating from your heart and the foundation of who you are and the foundation of the purpose in who you are. And okay, so this is the end of our podcast. And again, I say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting. And Until next time, this is your girl, Sonya Buchanan, with the Sonya Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Bye, you guys. Thank you for listening to our broadcast, the Sonya Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Until next time, bye, you guys.